Welcome and thank you for joining us today for Automation, AI, and the Rise of ServiceOps. My name is Raleigh Gould and I'll be the moderator for today's event. Our featured speaker is Valerie O'Connell, Research Director at EMA. Valerie came to EMA with decades of senior level experience in the effective marketing of technology. She excels at making the value proposition of complex products clear in crowded markets and at equipping sales forces to strike with precision. Valerie will be concluding her presentation by taking your questions. Feel free to log them anytime by using the Q&A functionality. Also, today's event is being recorded and you will receive a follow-up email from EMA with the playback link and additional resources. So be on the lookout for that email. And now I'd like to go ahead and turn things over to today's featured speaker, Valerie O'Connell. Valerie?
Thank you, Raleigh, and thank you everyone for joining today. And while I'm on thanking, let me take a moment to thank our sponsors and also to clarify what sponsors do. If you've ever watched TV and you see a commercial, whether you've speeded through it or not, they've sponsored the content without impacting it. So it is with my sponsors here. They make this research possible. So I want to thank Icera, Everbridge, Umnitsa, PagerDuty, and ServiceNow for sponsoring this research and for having great products that really put forward the cause of ServiceOps. So, ServiceOps, what is it? Well, you can call it whatever you want, but a working definition, I'm just saying it's a technology-enabled approach to unifying IT service and IT operations management for excellence in delivery of digital business services. So if any of you have heard ServiceOps, oh no, another buzzword. It's not a buzzword. It's not a marketing concept, product, technology. It's really just an approach. It's IT service forward, results driven. And I'll repeat this periodically. It's people-centric, technology-enabled, and management supported. It's also common sense and very practical. You'll see as we get talking, it's both grassroots and C-level endorsed. It's very successful at improving IT service and cutting costs. And that is part of the reasons why it's rapidly growing in adoption. So a word about the research. The first time I did research on the topic of ServiceOps was last year at about the same time frame with exactly the same profile of participants. Put together a panel of 400 plus IT leaders in North America, EMEA, APAC, and the organizations had a minimum of 1,000 to 20,000 plus employees across industries. And the company size was pretty evenly distributed across that 1,000 to 20,000 plus. So, we're not talking mom and pop shops, we're talking enterprise. Last year, when I started this research, I kind of backed into it because I knew that ServiceOps was happening by talking with clients and practitioners and IT folks in the trenches, but I wasn't certain how well the name would ring. So I backed into it with AI service automation, ITSM and ITOps convergence. And last year's research, I concluded pretty boldly, I would say, ServiceOps will soon become the prevailing IT operational model. It's the logical product of business sense and technology combined because AIOps, automation, and AI enable and can also shape a converged model of IT service delivery and support. All right, so that was last year. So this year, emboldened by last year's results, I took ServiceOps head on, automation, AI, and the rise of ServiceOps. Welcome. That's what we're talking about today. So this year I say ServiceOps by any name, a technology-enabled approach to frictionless collaboration between IT service and operations is at work. It's already at work across industries and organizations of all sizes globally. It's relatively early, but it's gaining momentum as 78% of the respondents identify this collaboration as either an active effort or a formal initiative. And we'll get into what the difference is. So why does ServiceOps matter? It's happening now, either formally or informally. If you look at the chart on the right, this is the kind of chart most people save till the end, like Drum roll, please, but I have plenty of content for you, so I'm bringing this right up front. What impact has ServiceOps had on your organization? Now, I asked this question only to those folks who said that they had that kind of initiative already active. And it's almost universally positive for reasons we will be discussing. 29% say positive, cross-functional collaboration has improved. And if that's all it did, that's still well worth considering. A larger percentage, 51%, say it's very positive. It has streamlined cross-functional processes and workflows. But what really caught my attention is, given plenty of positive choices, 16% said it's transformative. It has redefined service excellence and business alignment. And transformative is a pretty big word. Now, if there are those cynics in the crowd going, but there are no negative answers. Correct. They were offered negative answers. They're not on this chart because nobody chose them, because ServiceOps is universally positive. You'll see a theme going through our time here. So organizational support and funding can amplify its benefits, even if it begins informally. Recognizing the trends and opportunities that are there in your own organization makes it possible. You can harness that momentum and maximize results. And it's a chance to make a difference without disruption or tons of additional investment. So that's a winner. Before we dive into ServiceOps itself, I always ask background information so I have some context. And probably most of you are interested in what's the budget and buying situation out there. Now, this research was conducted in February of this year. And at that time, 92% of the respondents had their 2023 IT budgets either increased, most of them had increased, or at least stayed the same. Then, if you look on the right, you'll see that only 17% experienced any kind of cut as of February 2023. When I asked the question, how has the global uncertainty about economics and geopolitical disruption impacted your organization's buying plans or behavior? So we see that 17% did experience some budget and headcount cuts. 23% said no impact yet. But for roughly 60%, there's been an impact on the buying behavior. Buying decisions now need a higher level of approval. Our budgets have not been cut, but discretionary spending and hiring are frozen. And some opportunistic, clever folks are saying we are speeding up spending in anticipation of cuts that haven't yet happened. I say here that AI and automation are foundational to both IT and to ServiceOps. So people aren't putting in AI and automation in order to do ServiceOps. ServiceOps is coming out of the capabilities that are being laid down. I asked, which technologies will your organization most increase in use and investment in the next year or so? 58% of the, now this isn't of respondents, this is total mentions. So top of the list, really just about everybody answered that automation and AI for predictive proactive operations, AI and automation for self-service and unattended actions, and automated cross-functional workflows. Those far outstripped the popular and growing edge computing, IoT. I'd like to say a quick word about predictive and proactive operations. For the many years I've been doing this research, predictive and proactive has always been on the list, but it's never before been at the top of the list. It's always been aspirational, nice to have, we're moving towards it. But as enterprises that have experience with automation and AI, their appetite for it and their cultural ability to consume it grows. So as I always say, automation breeds automation, so does AI, and the combination is powerful. We asked, how do IT operations and service collaborate using AI, ML, and automation? And you'll see there's a long list. I'm not going to go through it all, but it's useful for IT asset and cost management, IT governance and risk. ITSM tickets generate alerts in ITOps tools. So a word about that. One of my clients said, why would ITSM tickets generate alerts in ITOps tools? Shouldn't it be the other way around? And yes, it can be. But I'm sure you've all had the experience where all of your different monitoring tools are going like, everything's good, great here, but the service desk is getting flooded with users going, this just isn't happening. So AI and automation, foundational to IT and to service ops. And here's an example of AI and automation at work, AI ops, which is also one of my prime research areas. How is AI ops most useful in your organization? Oh, look, predictive and proactive actions tops the list again, tied with collection and rationalization of data, incident and response, and on down the line. Now, the next question over on the right, I had not intended to be an AI ops question, but it turned out to be one. And AI ops I'm using here is an exemplar of AI and automation at work. Which statement best describes IT outages in your organization? Well, it shouldn't be any surprise that roughly 60% say it's either increasing or it's guaranteed to increase or has been fairly constant. But where it got interesting was 18% said it has been decreasing because of proactive AI ops systems we've put in place, and 15% say it's increasing, but we think we can lower it with AI ops and automation. And I say here, AI ops makes a difference, and it also has a strong presence in mature service ops initiatives. Same as last year, getting stronger, service ops runs on platforms. Which statement best describes your enterprise's approach to IT service management and IT ops? And I specified IT ops and DevOps execution. You see that 42% say they have platform capabilities for cross-domain workflows, and visibility and automation are unifying the functions. And we called out specifically service ops there. That 42% is up from 24% last year. So strong movement in that direction. And also there's 29% where IT service and IT ops are separate, but share information and processes through the service desk, through their ITSM platform. We asked, in terms of cost, what value has your platform investment return? Now, I asked about success rates and things like that, but here I've asked them to specifically think in terms of cost. And other than for 2% who say it's disappointing, benefits do not offset the costs, the platform use is generally a profit-making venture, with 25% saying it's high value. The savings and benefits are at least double the cost. And 35% of those who have service ops teams report the high value level. And 59% say good value, it more than paid for itself, probably returning in excess of 20% over cost. Now, this isn't exact, but it shows that the perceived value is high. So now let's turn specifically to service ops questions. And before I dove in, I wanted to ask kind of cold, what does the term service ops mean to you? 60% gave what I consider to be the correct answer, an approach that combines IT service and operations. And there's a span of other possibilities, including the honest 3% who go nothing. It's a new one to me. But in drilling down into this overall answer, it had very high name recognition with service ops teams, not surprisingly, and close to 100% with CXOs. So name recognition, service ops, is up substantially this year from last year. And although the name doesn't matter, and it doesn't, I mean, you can call it anything, but the term service ops, I do believe, will become well recognized and accepted because it's simple, it's straightforward, it makes sense. You don't need any mental gymnastics to go, service ops, whatever could that mean? Service ops. Now, then we got in practice. I made the definition of service ops is an approach, the same one I did at the beginning, and then asked the question, if service ops unifies IT service and operations, which statement best describes the state of service ops in your organization? 43% say there's an active effort to improve service and operations collaboration, And 35% say they actually have a service ops team that includes both functions. Again, strong movement in this direction. Now, formal service ops teams tend to be more mature. They tend to be C-level supported than the active effort group, which tends to be more grassroots. But both are more advanced in digital transformation, automation, and the use of predictive and proactive actions. Just as a little aside, the group that's completely separate and is happy to do it that way tends to see IT as purely operational versus strategic. I say service ops is a natural progression of workflow automation and of automation and capabilities that are, the tracks are being laid down already. I often say smart people find smarter ways to work. Which statement best describes the reason for service and ops to increase collaboration in your organization? 36% say senior management is driving collaboration for efficiency and cost cutting. They won't be disappointed. 43% say collaboration is a natural result of workflow automation capabilities. And 21%, a little more frantic, it's a survival mechanism for service and ops to deal with the volume of work. But my point being, it's in service ops is a natural progression. It's not some wild harebrained scheme that, you know, some C-level person comes swooping in with and everybody goes, what are they thinking? What's happening is people are using these capabilities, growing them, and as they succeed, doing more of it. I say here that service ops is relatively easy. Asking how long has service ops been underway in your organization, either formally or informally. And you see that much more than half, it's under 2 years, with 11% being less than 1 year. And as is true of all IT initiatives since the invention of the abacus, benefits realized increase with maturity. I can't go into all the drill downs I did, but service ops maturity correlates strongly with IT service quality. 31% of those who had more than 2 years service ops initiatives underway reported having outstanding IT quality of service versus 21% in the 1 to 2 year group and 16% in the early group. Now, correlation is not causation, but they definitely travel together. We asked, what is the ideal level of service ops unification of service and operations? 42% said merged, shared reporting structures, systems, and business goals, and 34% say coordinated, simplified collaboration and workflows. CXOs tend to see merged as ideal, whereas those people who come from mature service ops teams tend to choose coordinated. The point here is not what is the ideal level, because the ideal level will differ by organization. And that ideal level may well change over time with experience. Practical outcomes. What are the results when service and operations are effectively unified? The list is long, the list is deep, and the list is important. But I'm not going to go through all of them because I want to focus on the top two. Faster time to find and fix problems, and higher productivity and less wasted time. I'm focusing on those two because they're also the top goals and improvements for both ITOps and for IT service. We asked, what are the top ITOps improvements goals in the next 6 to 18 months? Reduce major incidents outages and reduce costs. Because each person had to choose two, the fact that you have 50% means that they were chosen, was it 2 or 3? I don't know, but 100% of the respondents chose reduce major incidents and outages and reduce costs. On the IT service improvement side, better processes for interaction with other teams, automated cross-departmental workflows, and cost cutting. So just to refresh, the top outcomes were faster time to find and fix problems, higher productivity, and less wasted time. Now here, I'm just going to look at a few data points for what happens when you find and fix problems faster. Well, ServiceOps increases ITSM contribution. I asked, select the top 3 teams most responsible for identifying and fixing any degradation in service quality. On the left, you see all respondents: DevOps, ITOps, network, ITSM, and engineering. And then drilling down, those that have mature service ops teams, it's the same players, but it's a different order of call, with ITSM coming from 4th place to being up tied for 1st place. ITSM, IT service desk, ITOps, network, and DevOps. So it's no surprise that ITSM is growing in importance for 90% of the respondents. How do you view the future of IT service management in your organization over the next 3 years? I see ITSM as substantially growing in importance for 42%, somewhat growing in importance for 47, almost 48%, staying the same level of importance for 9%, and out in the left field, 1% declining in importance. Now, those that have service ops organizations, 55% of those said that they saw ITSM substantially growing in importance. Now, obviously, if you have good collaboration and there's going to be less wasted time and higher productivity, but here are some specifics. I asked, what impact does unplanned work have on productivity in your organization? And in my opinion, it's high. Significant impact, 10 to 24% loss of productivity, 47% answered. 32% thought that 10% loss of productivity was acceptable, and 19% said there's high impact, 25% or more loss of productivity. So when do you have unplanned work? You have it when you have outages, incidents, et cetera. The faster time to find and fix those problems is an automatic gain in higher productivity and less wasted time. Another question I asked was, does unplanned work from incidents and outages impact strategic initiatives in your organizations? Why, yes, it does for 73% of folks. Yes, immediate demands slow down strategic projects. And when I drill down even more, I asked, is the impact on outages and unplanned work more on IT employees or on the entire company? And it was pretty evenly split, but IT does get hit a little harder. The top obstacles to service ops, it turns out, are not primarily technical. Having said that, what are the top obstacles to service ops? The top one is technical: data access and accuracy. And that makes sense, because if the whole point of service ops is to increase collaboration, decrease overlap, duplication of effort, get rid of gaps, that the essence of that is data. They need to be sharing the same data and it needs to be accurate. But after that, you have lack of experience and skills, competing goals and priorities, resources, budget, and headcount, all tightly grouped. And those are not technical. In terms of the lack of experience and skills, we're not talking about highly skilled experience and skills, like data scientists and such. We're talking about people who are used to working in a new kind of environment with some new skills required. It's not instantaneous to move from a siloed mindset to a kind of collaborative approach, but the rewards are definitely there. On the left, I asked what factors are most important to unify service and operations, and on the right, which technologies are most important. So, what factors are most important to unify service and operations? Number 1, efficient processes and workflows. Then, look, we go over what technology is most important: workflow automation. So, efficient processes and workflows, and then automate it. And in terms of factors, collaboration tools, organization and management support, shared objectives and metrics, end-to-end visibility and common data. And those all find their counterparts in the technologies that are needed: a platform for enterprise-wide visibility and action, shared digital workplace, common data model, business context, discovery and service mapping, and automation. I also asked, what changes does ServiceOps require? And I'll go through these in a minute, but as I was going through the answers, I'm going, wait, this is ringing a bell. And then I went back and looked at last year's questions on DevOps, and they were like 1 point apart. Now, this is not to say that ServiceOps is the same as DevOps, but they have a lot of similarities. There are a lot of parallels. Both are cross-functional. Each one arose in response to the problems that are caused by siloed organizations and tools, but organizations to begin with. The functions have a high reliance on technology enablement, and although they can work and do work on an informal basis, they flourish when they're formalized and funded. They benefit from organizational support and shared objectives. They experience rapid adoption because they make sense and they deliver high value. Benefits increase with maturity. So speaking of benefits, which areas or use cases benefit the most from coordination of service and operations? And other than ITOps and service, cloud management, security, employee productivity, user experience, cross-functional workflows, employee productivity, and incident management and response. So these are top IT concerns, challenges and priorities. ServiceOps maps directly to those concerns. I asked, which teams other than service and operations benefit from coordination of service and operations? Again, security tops the list. They did last year too. End user management, DevOps, GRC, and product teams. There's a long list. Part of the point here is that the benefits of ServiceOps go well beyond IT service and IT operations to benefit the whole enterprise. But of course, over on the right, you see that IT service and IT operations do both benefit. In fact, what function benefits the most from ServiceOps? 62% said they benefit equally. At the beginning of the research, I asked each respondent to identify which side, IT service or IT operations, are they most knowledgeable about or involved in. So it's not an exact hard line, but their orientation. And to get to that 62% where they benefit equally, they answered equally. Folks from IT service and folks from IT ops were like a point in between. One group said 61% they benefit equally, and the other group said 63% they benefit equally. Quick math, that comes up to 62%. What I found really kind of interesting and actually somewhat delightful was you see the 17% who say IT service benefits more when you get into this service ops thing. Well, guess what? That 17%, they were from service, IT service. Likewise, the 21% who say, no, it's operations that benefits the most. That 21% were from IT operations. What I like about that is that in a world where everybody understands that the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence, when it comes to to service ops, the grass is greener on your side of the fence. And actually it's green on both sides. So everybody hold hands and sing Kumbaya. I'm really a huge fan, an unabashed fan of service ops for some of these reasons. Well, first, let me back up and repeat as I'm closing out this presentation. The name doesn't matter, but ServiceOps, the name, is simple, it's to the point, it's easily understood, so it is likely to be adopted in terms of the name. The practice is actively in adoption. ServiceOps facilitates the interaction of IT service and operations. And this is an important point I should have made earlier. It recognizes and respects the differences each team has in charter scope and necessary skill sets. When we talk about merging or unifying IT service and operations, we're talking more about a Venn diagram. We're not talking about making them the same, but maximizing and simplifying their specializations, cutting out the duplication, the overlap, and the gaps. So recognizing and respecting the differences each team has. And it delivers benefits that extend across the enterprise. ServiceOps directly addresses many of the high priority IT objectives and challenges. We already covered it, but I'll call them out again, especially reduction in outage frequency and duration, a sure winner. IT employee productivity on everybody's list. User experience, improved service delivered, and cost cutting. I say that ServiceOps is on the rise. This is my conclusion. ServiceOps is on the rise because it directly addresses top IT priorities using mainstream technologies. So in other words, you're not having to go out and get something crazy new that nobody understands. And those mainstream technologies are being used to deliver high benefits while cutting costs. And I have it in bold because I think this is important. It makes sense to the people who are doing the work. When IT initiatives don't make sense to the people who are doing the work, the IT initiatives are not usually raving success. But in this case, the adoption is starting at the grassroots. Smart people are finding smarter ways to work. When that happens, it's then getting the organizational recognition, C-level endorsement, funding, and the benefits flourish and multiplies. So I expect next year's research is going to be even much more bullish. And I conclude by saying there just is no downside. And as I said, I'm an unabashed fan. So that's all I have for this presentation. I'm going to ask Raleigh in a minute if we have any questions, but I want to point out that there is a research report, Automation AI and the Rise of ServiceOps, which has these points and some others in more detail. And here are my sponsors. And Raleigh, do we have any questions?
Thank you for those great insights, Valerie. We did not receive any questions, so that will conclude our webinar today. As I mentioned at the start of the event, please be on the lookout for the email from EMA. It will include the link to the on-demand playback and some additional resources. Thank you for joining us and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.